This card trick is called the 2-card Monte, and it only involves the 2 black aces. And here's how this is going to work. The ace of spades is your money card. If you can tell me where the ace of spades is, you win the money. Now, if you miss it and you get the ace of clubs, I then take yours. So here is how this is going to work. I'm going to give this a couple of switches. And again, you have to guess where is the ace of spades. Now, if you said it's down there, I'm taking your money. But if you said it was up here, you're then taking mine. Now, if you won that, I'm going to want my money back, so we'll run this double or nothing. And if I won, of course, you're probably going to want to. So let me know in the comments if I took yours or if you took mine, and then we'll run this again, okay? Now, we can run this 2, 3, 4 more times. It doesn't really matter. Now, of course, we're only going to need these 2 cards, so we can get rid of the rest for now. But I'm going to give it a couple more switches, and you just tell me which one is the ace of spades. Am I holding it, or are you? Now, if you said that I'm holding it, you would then be wrong. That is the queen of diamonds. Now, if you said it was down here, you're wrong again. That's the queen of hearts. And now onto the tutorial for this. You are going to need the ace of clubs, the ace of spades, the queen of diamonds, and the queen of hearts. And now here's the order that you need it. First, take your ace of clubs and put it face down on the deck. Then you can take your 2 other cards that you are going to only use as the reveal and put those in the middle. And then take your last card and put it on the top of the deck. That is going to be your setup for the 2-card Monte. Now that you have your setup complete, what you're going to do is you're going to turn over the top card, which is just the ace of spades, and you're going to give it to your spectator. Normally when I do this, I will have the spectator put it in between their first and second knuckle like this. They're not doing is going to be turning it over and looking at the bottom of the card. That would not be good. That would then mix a lot of the stuff up that you would need to do. Because in this a couple of seconds, I'm going to teach you how to do a couple of different switches. And if they already looked at it, that would then ruin the trick. So I have them hold it in between their knuckles because they're much less likely to do so awkward movement to look at it. Instead of if they're just looking at it like this, they can just turn it over really easily. So put it between their knuckles. So in this case, I'm just going to set it right here. Now, remember where the other ace is. It's actually the 3rd card from the top. So you're going to have to do a triple lift. What a triple lift consists of is turning over 3 cards as if they are 1 card. Now, if you don't know how to do a double or triple lift, I've made a full in-depth tutorial for multiple different ways to execute this move, and if you want to, you can check it out popping up right here at the end of the video and down in the description below, so you can check out how to do that move. Now, once you've learned how to turn over multiple cards at the same time as if they are just 1, you can take that and turn it back face down. That'll be the last time that you use the ace of clubs or any type of multiple lift. Pretend like this card right here is the ace of clubs. Now, we know that it's actually right here. Then in reality, we're taking this card, which they think is the ace of clubs, which is the queen of diamonds, and we're going to be switching it a few times. Now, I switch it top to bottom 3 times and pick up this one. The reason is you have to leave them with the queen of diamonds. You can then say, okay, where is the card? I like to make that more obvious. I want them to know that the ace of spades is here. That way they think they won the first round, and that way they guess here. What you don't want them to do is say, okay, well, I think it's there. Say, well, sorry, it's here. You could do that. It just doesn't feel quite as fun if you could, instead of going, they guess it right, you get to turn that over. So the way that I perform it is I make it here and I make it obvious. If you want to make it more difficult, it's up to you. Now that I have the ace of spades here, I now have to be able to switch it with the queen of hearts because we've already switched this queen of diamonds and the ace of clubs. So one last switch is what we're gonna have to do, but you never really see me go back to the deck. All I have to do is set this pack down. Here's what happens is as I'm setting this down, that's when the switch happens, and let me show it to you. And of course, this is going to be an exposed view. As I'm taking this here, I'm going to take my left hand, which is in mechanics grip, left thumb along the left long edge, pointer finger along the top short edge, and your other 3 fingers are along the right long edge. When that's in that grip, I'm going to take my thumb and push it over just that top card, over my fingers, and then bring it back, but leave my pinky in a gap right there. That's called a pinky break. Now with this pinky break, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this ace of spades that they've just seen, I'm going to bring it back face down, and once I've brought it back face down, I'm going to be taking this to set it down. Now, when I'm doing it, I'm actually coming across my body. Now, notice you had less view of the ace of spades because I brought this across my body and I didn't actually move the ace of spades out of the way. I just set this over here. Now, what's actually going to be happening is you're going to be taking this ace of spades and you're going to be switching it with the Queen of Hearts. And here's how that works. When you're taking it here, have them both down. You have a slight break. As I'm coming across, I'm already starting to turn my hand over. But just as I start to turn it over, I've barely turned it all. Once I'm here, that gives me this spot where I can then put this ace of spades on top and have my pointer finger in between the two cards. Now my pointer finger and middle finger grab the other card out from the middle. I'm gonna do it again with the cards face up so it's a little bit easier to see. So as I'm coming this way, because I've turned it just slightly down, this card can then just sit on top. My pointer finger's already in the middle. My middle finger can go underneath the bottom one since I have that break. And then what's gonna happen is my thumb is gonna put pressure down on this ace of spades. And what's gonna happen is I'm gonna turn and lay this down, and I'll already have this Queen of Hearts. So in reality, it's gonna look like this. You're gonna have this here. I'm gonna do this really slow. As I'm coming this way, I already have this down, and I've now grabbed this, taken it here, and switched that out. That way I now have the queen instead of the ace, which is actually right here, face down. So now even if the spectator wants you to flip this over, so let's say they're here and they're like, okay, well, I'm suspicious that the aces are still on top of the deck. One thing that you have a couple of different options at that point. First of which is top palming. Now top palming is what happens when you have something like an ace of spades that I don't want you to have access to. And that could be for a plethora of reasons. That could be because you're about to shuffle the cards and I want to make sure that when you're shuffling them, well, it actually just doesn't matter because my goal is to have actually taken those two aces while I was talking to you and just using misdirection. I'm going to take those out of the deck, so if you're going to shuffle or look through the cards to see if you can find them, they're not going to be anywhere in here because I will have palmed them off already. A second way to take it all the way out of the deck is lapping, and that's plain and simply the act of taking whatever card it is and dropping it in your lap. Now, of course, if I did that right here, if I actually dropped it, you're going to hear that. So you want to come prepared and be in a position where you actually have the ability to. So if you're standing up, if you're outside, things like that will not work for lapping. Option 3 is something called a pass. I'm assuming you've seen someone cut the deck like this. And what that does is that takes your aces, and if you actually give it a quick cut, that moves them to the middle. But that's really obvious to a spectator. So a pass is something that you do more undercover. That way it's less obvious to a spectator. Now clearly that was a bit of an exposed view, but that's called the Herman pass. There's the Herman pass, there's the turnover pass, and there's many others to be able to lose the cards somewhere in the middle of the deck. And it doesn't really matter which way you use, as long as, one, you can make sure that the spectator's eyes are up on you to give you a little bit of some cover room. That way they're not just grilling your hand. And the other thing is that that move should be, for the most part, indetectable if you're doing it at the right angle. And lastly, if none of those options are really viable for you, I'd recommend just taking the deck of cards, shoving them in your pocket, or if you're really ambitious, you can just take a deck of cards, pull out a lighter, and light that sucker on fire. But all in all, that is the 2-card Monte, and if you like that tutorial, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below and check out the double lift tutorial here, and you can check out the playing cards right there. Subscribe for more videos just like this one, and this is CPM signing off.